Brought to you by Cornete Connections, bringing the print industry together for a higher purpose.
Hi, y'all. Welcome to the inaugural episode of Raising the Stakes podcast. We're going to explore stories of people's rise and give back, how people have used their business to give back to their communities. Many of you know me from speaking about disability inclusion across the print industry. And the print industry has embraced my mission and really supported me throughout the entire journey. They've shed a light by providing stages, interviews, and we've made an incredible difference. There's actually true momentum where we're seeing full industry-wide change. All right, today we're joined by an industry legend, Rick Roth. Rick is one of the godfathers of screen print. He is also an incredible philanthropist, and he's a true friend. There was no better guest to have on the inaugural episode of this show because Rick has been supportive of my mission of disability inclusion since the beginning. I shared a stage with you, I think 6 or 7 times. You've been supportive since the beginning. And your support has helped us further our mission of disability inclusion across the print industry. And we're seeing real momentum where we're seeing screen printers and digital printers across the industry setting up disability inclusion programs. And we are truly changing this industry to go from being behind the times in disability inclusion to being in the forefront. So when I thought about how we were going to do a podcast, I wanted to do something that shed a light on other philanthropy that people are doing, because there's so many incredible people in our industry that are giving back and using their businesses as platforms. So the Rise part of the podcast is really helping people understand the story of how people went from the beginning of being inspired to go into business to being successful, but also to talk a little bit about the challenges along the way. And then the give back portion of the podcast is really to explore how people use their business success as a platform to give back. We want to help inspire you guys to do the same with your businesses. We want to help you know what Rick and our other guests are doing so that you can get involved and support their philanthropy and charities. And also look to see how we can provide platforms to other people so that we can really use our industry coming together, connected as one, to drive change and make this world a better place. Rick, thank you for joining us.
Glad to be here. I was very inspired by your talk when you gave it, and it kind of resonated like in a different way. So I like that when you talked about inclusion, you're like, it makes business sense. So I always talked about like how fucking racist the organization is. I remember when I first started screen printing, I had a black customer, and the ink company had a peach color that was called Flesh. And I'm like, what the hell? This is like fucking embarrassing. Like, really? And I wrote to them, I was like, why are you calling it this? This is, like about, I don't know what % of the population, but it's not everybody I've ever seen. Like, and it's wrong, And so about racism, it's like stupid business sense. Like, appealing to ethics never worked that much. It works better to say, you know what, there's this many people in the world and you're not hiring women, well, you just cut it to here. You're not hiring any black people and you're not hiring this or that, disabilities, you're getting down here and you're belly aching about not having anybody work for you. It's stupid. Forget the ethics, it's stupid. And, kindred spirit I found in you, and so that was pretty inspiring. I love it.
Well, you have not only been a supporter of my mission, but you have become a good friend of mine, somebody I respect, I look up to.
Shouldn't we have like whiskey here or something?
We first episode, we didn't think that one fully through.
Yeah, later,
but
down around. Okay.
I think that people know you as this screen print legend. But I don't think people know sort of everything that you do in business. So let's just start off with, tell me what you do and tell me kind of the story of the progression of sort of your career.
Well, it's funny. Someone was asking me recently, like, what was the first shirt I printed? I actually have the first one I helped print, actually, in freshman year in college. A guy in my dorm printed some Mr. Natural shirts, and I helped him. He printed like 12 by hand. So I helped him a couple more times. And then I went to Colgate University, and there was this beautiful building. It was made from stone on the campus, like from quarried on the campus. And the Olin Corporation wanted to tear it down because their building was meant to have an unimpeded view. And so we printed Save Old Bio It was Old Bio, it was called. Save Old Bio shirts. They were really crudely printed, but I printed them in Old Bio because it was an art space at that point. And I was actually named Humanitarian of the Year at Colgate last year. And I went back there and I have a picture of me in front of Old Bio.
Congratulations.
They
It's
didn't wear
incredible.
it down. So I told people I falsely learned that screen printing and activism were always successful.
Now you've gotten
Neither of which is true.
yeah. Well, now you've gotten a lot of awards for screen printing, but I remember when you got that award from Colgate, and it was kind of one of the times I've seen you most touched by something
Yeah.
to be recognized by your philanthropy, and we are going to get into that. But keep going. Take me through. So, all right, here's your first shirt that you guys made to save the building. How does the career continue to progress from there?
So I always printed shirts at we have a yearly event with my high school friends. Like we still do it, like 53 years or whatever it is. And so at one of these, another friend came and he was making postcards, and my nickname is Biscuit. So he would say, "Hey, Biscuit, you know how to print shirts. Let's print shirts of these designs I have." So, all right. So I printed them in my basement. Like, I cannot tell you how crudely. No, I think it's why I'm good at screen printing, because, like, if you can do it with nothing, then you can do it with machinery really well. So in my basement, I didn't even have like a hand press. You know, people start with a hand press, no hand press. By eye, putting the screen down with one hand, printing it, putting the screen on a box, putting the shirt on a clothesline. I actually have pictures of it because the guy was a photographer. He took pictures of us doing it. So then I printed these shirts for him, took them to a guy to sell, and they're like, "No, we don't want any of those." But these other cards that he does, they were joke couples. It was like Steve and Edie, but instead of the lounge singers, it was Steve Lawrence and Idi Amin, the dictator of Uganda,
Right.
and stuff like that. And he's like, "I'll take 150 shirts." So I did those shirts, and I kept doing them in my basement. And one thing led to another. Eventually, I was just really into it, and I met a guy. We were subbing work to somebody, and this other friend of mine, Colin, was like a fanatic too, and we just went nuts. And so we got an opportunity to print this photograph, Robert Doisneau, real famous photograph of a guy kissing a woman. It says at City Hall. Uh, in Paris, and we actually had to have it approved by Robert Doisneau in France. And so people were printing like one color halftones, and we went in, used these contact frames, crazy stuff, stack camera era, and it was really expensive to get separations made and get films, but we did it 19 times until we had these 5-color things that were like better than some offset prints, and we're just like fanatical about it. And it's funny, but I had in an interview once, I had met this guy from Ocean Atlantic Textile, and he let me in his place. And at the time, he had one of the biggest places. He had these ovals and metal frames, and he was printing Iron Maiden shirts like 24/7 on black shirts. Now we could print that stuff. And he told me, it's really generous of him to let me in there and stuff because I knew nothing. And he, like, you have a vision, like I always wanted to be the biggest, and he was the biggest. So I always wanted to be the best, and we won all these awards and shit. But I, a lot of times did not make any money. And so I was on a little thing with Annie McDougall and Jacob Edwards. And I said, yeah, a lot of times I wish I had decided to be the richest, because it was being the best doesn't always pay that well.
Don't I know?
Not that, not that I regret doing it, but there are better ways to make money probably than screen printing, that's for sure.
So at what point did it become a full-time business where you weren't doing anything and this is supporting your life?
Yeah, so I did it, and then I was still in my basement. Then I had an unemployable musician doing it for me in my basement. And then I had done some volunteering at this youth program, and they also did work. And so I had them print stuff for me, except they couldn't print. So then we used their stuff at night and on weekends. And I even invented an auto press, even though I didn't know what that was. Like I found a press that was for t-shirt for printing paper, and we printed these giant designs because it was so hard to do by hand, and we did it with that. And
Let's step back there. You invented this auto press?
well, I mean, I
Like, what
made
did
I
you
made
do?
a paper press into a auto shirt press, sort of not rotating, but one giant print. And I don't know how we did it. We were printing white ink on black shirts with one hit. We just added stuff that's probably illegal now, and they don't sell, and just went kind of crazy at doing it. And we did these giant white ink prints that were killing us to print
And
by
how old are
hand.
you at this point?
Let's see. This is after like a very tough time, actually. So I was in my early 30s. So I had been in a carpentry business with friends in my late 20s, and I have a rare disease in my ankle. And it's like so rare. There was like all the languages in the world. There was like 20 papers about it.
Mm.
It's called pigmented villonodular synovitis, basically an amorphous tumor. And I kept getting what felt like sprained ankles when I didn't do anything to sprain my ankle. And finally, after many times to the doctor, they diagnosed it. And I had an experimental treatment. They literally a lead needle injected a short-acting radioactive substance and it burned it out. But it burns everything. So I couldn't really walk. I had
Jeez.
4 kids, 3 under the age of 3, and I couldn't walk and I couldn't work.
3 under the age of 3, as a
Twins,
father of
twins,
3.
twins. So I had
Jeez.
my stepdaughter, teenage daughter, and then a 3-year-old, and then twins. And then I couldn't walk or work.
Ah,
Though you kind of find out what you're made of. You find out who your friends are. Some surprising friends, When your chips are down, people will help you that you're
those are the
didn't
people you
know.
keep forever.
I have one friend, I don't even see him that much. He'll help me more than anybody else did in my whole life.
So how did that
How did that
experience in the carpentry business then
I
transition
think you
into...
realize you can make it through anything, like yeah, the lessons you learn from something aren't necessarily exactly what happened. Like when I was 16, I was hanging out with my friend. I had never been anywhere. I never saw like a mountain or anything, just suburban life. Parents didn't have that much money. They weren't poor, but we didn't go on trips or anything. We're like, let's go to Europe. And we're like, no, let's really do it. And we pre-internet research shit, found like the best deal. And you put your mind to something, you realize you can do anything. Like I was on a plane. Well, we figured this thing to do the next summer, but through a whole series of events, ended up in Switzerland like in January right after that. And like it was, then you realize kind of anything you put your mind to, you might be able to do. Maybe it won't come along exactly as you planned it. So I always say nothing happens without a plan, nothing happens according to plan, right? You're sitting home in your bed with the covers over your head, not a lot happens, right? But it doesn't mean you can set your mind to anything and it will happen.
So you overcome this
Yeah.
major personal challenge and medical thing, and it inspires you to feel like you can really get through anything in life. But what's the transition from the carpentry into now I'm
Some shitty
full-time
jobs.
screen print?
First, some shitty jobs, delivering things and stuff like that. And then I worked again at that youth program that had the equipment. And so we are still printing stuff in my basement. And the youth program was failing for some pretty horrible reasons, nothing to do with me and preceding me. And so I ended up buying the business from them, which was a lot of bad will and bad equipment. and so I right away I've always been okay with like hiring somebody else to do it. I had a paper route as a kid, and I hired another kid to do it on weekends, like because I had to go to sports practices. And so I bought it, learned really the hard way. Like first piece of equipment, I didn't know anything, and they're like the dryer comes and like it's the size of a car, delivered in this where the screen printing was in what was a house, had a like double door, but that's it. So like had to hack it apart, and my two giant friends carried it in by hand, like because there was no other way to get it in. So learning the hard way, like it was tough. I've tried to hold on to those roots. That's one reason I do this in kitchen thing. It's like people help me. You can only pay it forward. I know it's cliche, but so what? Like that is what you do. You pay it forward. So I've tried to share that. And I think I've always related to like real beginners. And yet I also relate, I've been in the biggest shops ever. We've printed things named the best print in the world at the time. So I can go in both of those circles. I don't like being pretentious. I don't like people that are pretentious. So I try to stay in touch with people that are beginners, you know? Um, so then, I outgrew that place. They had to sell the building. I moved. We printed by hand, but I had a partner and that would print auto printing. But if we didn't go there, they would ruin everything. It's like we had to inspect everything they did.
Right.
Yeah. And, but really wanted to be the best. So until could afford it, and then bought what I thought was the best press, this MHM press, So I went from hand printing to MHM, like sort of elite press. And I don't know, kept at it, kept working on the separations I talked about. We're doing simulated process without really anyone teaching us. We just figured it out, trial and error. Spent a lot of money on that, I guess, and time, really into it. I don't know, I think there's a German word about love of work. I had that, I like to work hard. I made up a shirt for our arts festival, work hard, play hard, make art. That's what I'm believing. um,
In my office, it says, work hard and be nice to people.
All right. Yeah. So, after we did the separation thing, we got into high density special effects. I remember my friend Danny Sween was like, this is the future, whatever. It's like, really? And we did get into that, and with what we knew how to do with halftones and some friends that know how to do the high density thing, we did like a remarkable special effects. And
you were doing special effects with printing that nobody was doing at the time.
These were not too many people. Yeah, not too many people.
And still to this day, people can't do.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, but people look at shit that I show them like, wow, that's amazing. And we did it like 20 years ago, actually. Sometimes they call for it, sometimes they're not. I'm glad to print one color.
How do you think you were able to like figure that out? Did you have was it an artistic background growing up, scientific? Like, I mean, how do you just go from having this idea to saying, hey, I'm going to do it differently. I'm going to do something special.
I mean, I think I really appreciate art. Like, both I enjoy it, and I think my whole life, certainly for a long time, when someone's an artist and I like talk to them, they get that I get what they're trying to do, or maybe even add something to it, And but I'm very, it's funny. I used to think I was kind of posing because of working class thing, but really, like my uncle worked at Bethlehem Steel, except for being in World War II and almost getting killed his whole life, and my uncles were farmers. My mother was a farmer growing up. So T-shirts are not pretentious. Canvas in a room for $5,000 is pretentious, or 50 grand or whatever. T-shirts, everybody can afford it. I kind of like that. If I'm going to make art, it's going to be on T-shirts,
So you're building this T-shirt business, right? But the business evolves, right? Like,
yeah.
How does it continue to evolve? How does Ink Kitchen come into play? Tell us a little bit about Ink Kitchen.
Yeah,
keep going through the journey.
So, we're in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and got priced out. I had a landlord. He's a good guy, but good guy can only go so far. So, good guy, I think, rented to us for $6,000, and then he got $26,000 a month when we moved out. In Cambridge, Massachusetts. So, but he advised me and stuff. I've had people that advise me. you got to listen. I always wonder, like, well, who doesn't ask questions? You know what I mean? Like, damn, there's all these resources. And a lot of times I'm like, why don't I get the smartest fucking person about ink or screens? And everybody's like, well, here's your chance, man. You don't have to go to Harvard for this. Just raise your hand.
Right.
Like, and so anyway, my landlord, told me about buying a building and stuff. And I looked around, there really wasn't anything local in Rhode Island. It was like an hour away, but 19 out of my 24 employees moved to Rhode Island. Like, we treat people good. They don't want to leave. We're a union shop, not because I ever fought with anybody. The opposite. I encourage them. That gives them guarantees that make people secure to stay long enough to print good stuff. The guy that's there for 6 months isn't figuring out high density. I'll tell you that.
Right.
So, it was kind of a motley crew. People had their issues or whatever, but surrounding myself with talent, really. I don't feel like I needed to be the smartest guy. I think that helps a lot. Had a lot of really, really capable people working for me.
I like being the dumbest guy in the room. I think that really is the best way to position.
Yeah. So, no, and I always, actually, one of the main guys, Brian Lassard, last night he was telling me, he's like, he would have quit screen printing, went to art school, but I got it so we could go to Lyon, France, to the FESPA and print shirts, and Mexico City to print shirts, and all over the country to print shirts, because we were the best. And like, you don't get that opportunity. A lot of people slave away and, east butt fuck, wherever, and don't get to go around. They're just tied to the press, and people got out there. I didn't ever fear that they would get hired, even though sometimes, to my detriment, they did get hired by other people. But Brian included.
Yeah.
We're still friends and still work together. But, you have to encourage people, see what's good in them, maybe overlook some of what's bad in them. I can't tell you how many people work for me with drug and alcohol problems. I think that's like everywhere been in my life.
Yeah.
People that killed themselves,
Yeah. It's rough.
Yeah. So, I don't know. So Ink Kitchen, I don't know where I hatched the idea, but I started myself.
Well, tell us what is Ink Kitchen for those that.
All right. So Ink Kitchen is it's an online repository of information, and I wanted it to be by screen printers, for decorators, and there's a lot of bullshitters. I can't stand it. You know what I mean? And I don't, people are beginners and they come to these shows in droves. Like, if you look at the percentages for a show, it's a lot of beginners, and there's a lot of people trying to sell them snake oil. And it really, really bothers me to take advantage of somebody that is really vulnerable and doesn't know. And that's just wrong. So you can't really call that out, although I'm tempted to go around with like, hey, this guy's a jerk. This guy's selling you a bunch of BS. This guy that's a consultant. Well, he's a consultant. He doesn't know how to print shirts. He knew like 40 years ago, where he stole some ideas from his customers, but he doesn't actually know. And like, let's talk to some people that actually know. And you know what? Some of those people are like have brown or black skin, or they might be a woman. What a freaking miracle, right? They're not on the stage, but let's put them on the stage because they do the work and they know what they're talking about. And so we have videos of people that I know what they're talking about, and then I share information. So I did it for a while, then it went kind of, I don't know, I didn't have time for it. And then my friend Tom Davenport to do it again.
Our friend Tom Davenport.
Yes. So we posted the next year 350 out of days of the year, we put a post up about like dye migration, or how to select the right embroidery thread or backing, or
which is unique, because I think that so many people in this industry don't want to share. They don't want to help others, whether we're going to talk about giving back from a philanthropy standpoint, but just giving back from a knowledge standpoint, which I think is such a beautiful thing, that you've just been this open book of like, hey, let me give you the best information that I can give you to be successful.
Yeah. And when they find out how hard it is to do some stuff, they would never freaking try it themselves, But Yeah. I mean, and I don't give every last thing away, you know? Like, it's funny when you give, sometimes besides the people that are kindred spirits that give, you find a lot of people that are take, you know, because you're giving. So you got to be careful. I don't think I'm a sucker, you know? I'd rather fall on the sucker side, though, than the, you know, hold it in side. You know, that doesn't do anybody any good. You don't go forward, hold on to you're the paranoid inventor that everybody thinks is a fucking idiot. You know, like you won't get anywhere. You have to put yourself out there. And you know what? When you put yourself out there, I don't know, it's like falling in love or something, right? You know, put yourself out there, nothing happens. Put yourself out there, you can get freaking hammered.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Been married 3 times, just saying. I finally got it right?
Third one's a charm, right?
Yeah, right. Especially because I'm still married. I better say that.
Yeah. So, all right. So you've got the screen print business, which you're still rocking and rolling at. You've got In
It
Kitchen.
was not always rocking and rolling, I'll tell you that, but we'll
No.
get into that.
Tell me.
All right. So it was around 2008, had over 30 employees, many temps, so maybe 60 people in the building some days, that many, killing it. And then there were a series of really bad events, was 2 people. And one wasn't me. I was on unemployment. And I had like 400,000 in debt, I think. And that was how many years ago? Is that 18 years ago?
Yeah.
So I can retire if I want to. I paid everybody back.
Wow.
Stupid, some would say. You know, like should have gone bankrupt. I don't know. It wasn't my way. That friend I mentioned, Sal Consiglio, the bank was trying to like get me, like take my business, building, and house because I was not like doing that great, right? But I had paid them every month on time for 7 years, right? Or 9 years, whatever it was. Later, I find out they're trying to sell the bank, so they don't want any like risky investments, kind of. So it had nothing to do with anything except their greedy assholeness, you know? So my friend lent me the money to pay the bank off.
That's a hell of a run.
As it turned out, sometimes a good turn works out. Pulled money out of the stock market right before it crashed to do it, and I was paying them a high percent. So I was like, I'm not saying that was a good thing. I'm just saying I'm so happy it turned into a good thing. You know what I mean? I'm not saying, yeah, he did that for that, because he didn't do it for that at all. It just was a nice fringe benefit, you know?
So in this kind of darker moment where you're, you know, bankruptcy.
That was nothing.
That was nothing.
No, that's so my wife left me with her 4 kids and our sort of foster kid in high school. My bookkeeper embezzled
Jeez.
money. Yeah, great times. My accountant, who always had my back, died of esophageal cancer. Yeah, that's grim, I'll tell you, you know? So all that stuff, it's like, I don't know, man. I sometimes wonder, like, you know, you put your one foot in front of the other. You know, the kids, their father and their mother had left them. So, like, with them, it was like triage. Like, what's the worst thing on some day? I'll deal with that. Like, you just couldn't deal with it all. It was like,
So what made you not just give up and say, you know what, screw this entrepreneur life that I'm chasing. You know, I'll just go get a job, whether it's shitty or not, to go support myself. Like, how do you get out of bed every day and just keep pushing through?
I don't know. I don't like working for anybody. That's definitely the big part of it. You know, I won't say I'm that as gung ho about entrepreneurship as I'm anti the opposite.
Right.
And yeah, like I guess the control of it, even though you're not controlling it. You know, I don't know. I think you said earlier something, but you know, all the beautiful things about entrepreneurship. People think, oh, might make my own time and make a lot of money and stuff. If you really want that, you'd be a salesperson for a good company. Then you can make your own time and make unlimited money from the right company.
So who's the fool, me, the salesperson who went into business for myself?
Yeah, you should have just been a salesperson. You would have been much better off because that's I think what a lot of people imagine is it, and that's not what it is. You don't get paid sometimes, and it's pretty bad. I had like no money at one point. I had once before. I had like no money. People with money is not the same as being no money and not knowing anybody with money that likes you. Like a lot of homeless people are because they're jerks and no one will let them stay on their couch. Like they got problems besides money, right? If you have people that like you, you can kind of get through most things. I think friends are maybe more important than money even because your money could go away and your friends will not. The true friends.
Yeah, well, the strength of your relationships really are the value in life. And you bring up such a good point, which is part of the inspiration for this is that so many people look at entrepreneurs and they see social media and they see you getting awards and they see successes, they see glamorous names of clients you're working with, and they think, and you work for yourself, so they just think your life is just so great. And this isn't about telling people how bad it is, but it's more about letting the business owners and entrepreneurs out there know that, like, no matter how successful you get, there is dark times. Everybody has to push through these very difficult situations of testing your family and bankruptcies. And it's not all gumdrops and rainbows. And it is a hard, long, lonely road a lot of times to success as an entrepreneur. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm like you.
I think any of that is not even that bad. So one thing I've done is, so I was home. Yeah, I was homesick from work. And I had seen stuff. I had a teacher at graduate school, a nun, and she had told me about Amnesty International and that they fought torture and stuff, and I knew about it, but I didn't join or anything. And then I was sick, so I had time to call, and I called, and I went to a meeting, and I've been an Amnesty International member I went to a first meeting with, so it's weird. I think making the world a better place is important for your kids and not just raising them. Mm-hmm. So a lot of my friends had kids and they retreated from doing activism of the 60s and stuff. I was like, no, like, what are my kids going to inherit for a world, So I actually went to my first meeting when my stepdaughter was like 11 or so, and my baby daughter, and she helped me, and we went to a meeting. And so I know how long I've been doing it. It's 44 years because my daughter's 44.
I'm 44. I'm not trying to make you feel.
Yeah. So no, it's all right. So I've done amnesty work for a long time, and I don't know if people know what it is, but a human rights organization, and at least in good moments, focuses on individuals, which keeps it really grounded. It's not like this, treaties or whatever. It's about like a real person like you or I that's in fucking prison, right? So we worked for a while on these case of these. Well, this is related to work too. So we worked on a case of these 14 nuns in Tibet, trying to occupy Tibet since the 50s, and it's like horrible, and they can't speak their own language, etc. So we worked on the cases of these dropsheet 14 nuns. They had sung these songs like, not like, fuck the motherfucking Chinese government. It was like, I want to be free like a bird in the sky, right?
Right.
And they were given these like draconian sentences. So, and in horrible prison, the dropsheet prison is. And so we worked on this case, and they were actually freed. And
you told me you weren't going to cry. I don't believe you now.
So one of the nuns gets a Reebok Human Rights Award. And so she comes, and we we tell her everything that we did. And she's like, oh, that makes it all worth it. And she was in jail from age 14 to 30 every year but 1 year. And she was like a time where people described like the floor of the prison was red from them being beaten. There was blood on the floor. So like, go bankrupt? It's fucking easy, right?
When you say it like that, sure shit is.
So I still do that. And you're like, I'm tired. I don't want to fucking. In fact, I'm doing a meeting at the end of this month. And yesterday I was like, I don't feel like doing this. It's like beat up and your friends killed, you know? I met a guy. So I combine the things, you know? So this guy in business, he was selling me ink and he fucked up. He tried to hire my manager. And I'm like, fuck you, I'll never buy any ink. And we were buying like hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I'm like, you know, you blew it. I'll go from California, I don't care. Well, I think he made a dumb mistake. People said he's a good guy, actually. And so we were at a dinner at a trade show. And he kind of apologized. And like, I don't know, what can I do? So this is before the Nuns got released. We had 14 shows in 14 months, music shows. And the first and last show had 14 bands. And it was a lot of work. And I did one show and I had a friend that was a booking agent. It was like easy. And then the club freaking closed and he stopped doing it. And I had to do it at this other club. And it was like so much work. And I don't want to do a benefit. It's no benefit. So I made the guy, Craig from Etchamatic, I made him pay the expenses of every show. So we always made money because he paid the expenses. So even if 5 people came, we made $60 or whatever. So plus, you know, like you can't feel bad for yourself, right? Like, oh, I got to put on a music show and it's so hard. Like for somebody that's like getting their shit kicked out of them every day and their friends killed. You know, I went to a trade show in Mexico City and I always combined the things. And I looked at the local Amnesty group and the guy from Colombia had been forced to leave. And like we went through a notebook of all his friends that had been murdered.
Jesus.
Like,
jeez.
People after people, not like 1 or 2. And that's a bad side. I'll say a good one. So a good one was when I was doing consulting in Poland, I met the Amnesty people and I went up to Warsaw and I met the group there and I told them all the stuff we did. So instead of like, Amnesty is known for writing letters, we got, I don't know where we get the big ideas, but we had a human rights festival twice with 5,000 people and we had like, did all this like big stuff. And
you're putting on this festival.
Yeah. You know, you do what you can when you can. You have the right connections. You use what you are. You know, if you don't know anybody in music, that's probably a bad idea to try to do that, which I see people do. But I had the connections to do it, whatever, so I did it. You know, we'd have rallies. People come over to my place. They can make a mess making a banner because it's a concrete floor that has ink on it, right? You do what you can when you can. So I go to this Amnesty chapter, like, this is what I do. When I go around the world, I'm like, and there are always people like us, like regular people, not special, you know? So I go and I show these not special, except they are in other ways that you want to think of, people like, you know, hey, look what we did. We did all this stuff. And not to brag, but like, you don't have to just write letters. You can do all this other stuff.
Putting on events.
Yeah, 14 concerts, you know, Human Rights Festival with 5,000 people. We did this stuff for our case where, you know, we could do 45 minutes on that. Just this guy came from Guatemala and he was like, they tried to kill him because he was in a union. They shot his son in the back. And like, we weren't a fundraising group. We raised $30,000. That's like $100,000 now. And got him a house and like a job and like, you know, dealt with a kid with a wheelchair when they didn't speak English and did all this crazy stuff, spoke in front of the state legislature, like just went crazy, like everything we could think of, you know? And so there was a guy in that group, Vitek Hebanowski, and he was like, really? You can kind of do whatever you want? And oh my God, did that guy run with it? So he started this International Human Rights Day letter writing marathon that was like 24 hours. People were doing it in places where you could get arrested for doing it. This is early days, like they would take an hour and send one little photo of what they were doing on the internet. And then he started all these things. Like he at one point sent me all these materials of all the stuff he had accomplished. And I thought he must have a new nonprofit with like 200 people. There was 3 of them. And like he would partner with people and get all this great stuff done. And then he started a festival in the country of Georgia. And I helped with the first year and since then. And Armenians and our Azerbaijanis are at war. And but they can both go into Georgia. So it's pretty brilliant. It's like a festival for education and music, but it's really like to get those kids together.
Unity.
But if you say that, like Azerbaijanis will put you in jail because like peace is a traitor. But we do that, and they can both go there, and then they meet them and find out, oh wow, I thought you had horns. You took your hat off. I don't see any horns. And he started all this stuff, and actually the letter writing thing turned into the biggest thing of Amnesty now, called the Right for Rights, and he started that. And that's the biggest thing in Amnesty in the world.
Now
he started it after meeting me, and then they had no money, and we sent him $300. I'll tell you a different story. So we do this thing, Get on the Bus, and it was the biggest event in Amnesty, and we started it, high school students going to New York and having demonstrations. And a kid that was on that from high school, where there was all the Tesla demonstrations against the asshole, right? And there was a person they were like singling out, like that supposedly started it, and she helped organize some people, but she didn't make it happen, right? She went to get on the bus. I didn't even know it. Like I'm reading in The Guardian, and that's Valerie Costa. Like, you know what I mean? Like you inspire somebody, you don't know where those ripples are going. And, I don't even know people. We had an Amnesty table once, and my friends were there. Nobody came by. Turned out the one of 10 people was the daughter of the dictator of Nigeria, and she has been a human rights activist since. That's freaking crazy. Like, so you do what you can, and you don't know what the effect will be. And you can't make that happen. But like I said, if you don't do anything, nothing happens either, right?
How does that feel? So for me to get somebody whose life you've impacted either directly or inspired to help them impact other people's lives, that feeling to me is like the greatest feeling in the world outside of my family and children's love for, right? Like outside of that, there's like nothing professionally or personally that fills my cup more than impacting people's lives. You have been giving to Amnesty for as long as I've been in existence. Oh. And the ripple effects of what you've been doing have touched so many lives, inspired so many programs. How does that make you feel?
I mean, I'm pretty proud, I guess, but like, I don't know, that's not why I do it, really. I don't know.
Why do you do it?
I told you. Ironically, some people say, like, if you don't spend 24/7 with your kids, like you're neglecting them. I mean, kids are pretty resilient, and like, I'd rather be a model.
Showing them the way.
So I don't even know if she knows half of what I do, but my granddaughter is 9. Last year when she was 8, she saw on TV the fire in Altadena burned this like preschool up, and she lives in Minnesota and it's so freaking cold. So she made a hot chocolate stand to send them money. So this year she did for a homeless program. It's also pretty damn funny. So she got on TV, which is pretty good. The TV announcers somehow went from like in 2 minutes from talking about how good that was to like, oh yeah, hot chocolate. Yeah, the football team had that to warm themselves up. That and chicken broth. And the other guy goes, oh yeah, hot chicken broth. When I'm in the deer stand, I have hot chicken broth. So he went from like a kid raising money for homeless people to like shooting deer, but still, at least it was on TV. So I don't know. You try to inspire other people. You do what you can when you can. I mean, the homeless program here, I took 3 of the sponsors of the poster printing. Someone from Samar, from Stalls, and from Easy Way out to what they do. And it's...
Well, they tell about the poster printing program.
Oh, yeah. So we've been printing posters and donating the money to, like, we come here, like, yeah, great. We bought whiskey at the bar and we bought a steak dinner or a veggie burger or whatever you're buying, and that's great. And rented a hotel. But, we could do better than that. So it's like, and everybody's like pissing and moaning, homeless people, whatever. Let's fucking do something, man. You have money, you have resources. Let's get together and do something.
So you did something. Tell us, but tell.
All right. So what I did was, and a lot of people want to do good. I have these rules, like if you're organized and they think it will really make a difference, and you ask for what they do, not like asking to do something out of their wheelhouse, people will almost always help you.
I like that.
They will. So, I researched it. It was a little bit hard to find a place that wasn't I'm not giving it a place where the people running are driving around in Cadillacs and 10% goes to the homeless people.
You wanted to find the right charity.
So I found the right guy. Some calls, and this guy grew up here with Snoop Dogg in high school, actually. And he is out. There's 4,000 to 5,000 homeless people at any time in Long Beach, California, which isn't that big of a place. And he is out there with people. There's like a tent city out there that's grim. And so we print posters, and, I started just selling the posters, but then we put the name on. But you know what? I got such success, it's going to ruin the poster. The poster's going to be this thin and all the sponsors. So we put a big sign. The show was really helpful, impression show. We put a big sign up. These people are sponsoring it. And we have, on the 3 impression shows, now I believe we're over $150,000 in 3 years for a program here, one in Fort Worth and one in Atlantic City. And, the sponsors that give the most and say yes are the 3 Easy Way, Stalls, and Samar. The people went out there with me, and they're like, oh my God, this is unbelievable what he's doing. So he's picking up trash, picked up like 3 million pounds of trash or some enormous number, organizes them, pays them. And then instead of like, come on downtown and change your life, he's out there, he sees what people need. Like, I don't know about you, but I've known people that are homeless and in my life, and there's a lot of different reasons: mental illness, drugs, terrible events that happened to them, PTSD, whatever it is. One even that just couldn't live inside. He just couldn't be inside, And so, he engages them, and then whatever it is they need, he tries to get for them. And the guy's doing amazing work. No office, no big office, no fancy office, no fancy car, like just doing this. And that's who we're giving the money to. So, we're turning, and in some cases, we're turning like emulsion into helping homeless people. Because some people, maybe a company doesn't make that much, doesn't have a big marketing budget. I get like $500 worth of ink from my company, and then I like give $500 to the cause. So that's even easier for them. But, the response is pretty good, and it's competitors are doing it. That's the other thing I've done, especially at Printing United, but other places. Like they'd have these freaking lame parties in a room like this, whoopie-doo, a piece of cheese and a stupid beer. And it's like, we could do better than this. You're spending all this money for this crap. So we have a really fun party. We had Irma Thomas in New Orleans. We had all these bands, and like competitors were together in Atlanta. I'm there with like the guy from Rock, MHM, and M&R, and they are all having a good time, and they all supported it.
Turning parties into a charity event.
Yes, and also, what if
great.
Besides,
and the Atlanta party was amazing.
Besides charity for the world, it's like we have a business that I love and they love, and no one's going to be in it if it sucks, if it's not fun, if it's not educational. Yep. How are people going to do it? So like, compete later. Let's get some people in here, show them that we can do some good things positively. We can have fun, can give them information that's, not towards one company or another. And then you can, sort it out who's going to sell them a machine.
Yeah. So you're you're giving back to, you're highly involved in Amnesty. You're setting up all these events, festivals, poster programs, parties. You are doing in kitchen. You are running a successful screen print business. I think that a lot of people don't think that they have time to do philanthropy, or don't have, they're so focused on their core business. How do you balance doing so many things?
I get a sticker on my van. I've had it for at least since the early 90s. It says, "Kill your television." Because I'm telling you, and maybe now it's streaming something, but people even that say they don't watch television. Well, yeah, my favorite show, and yeah, sometimes when I'm tired, I sit in front of it, and yeah, I do watch, all the football games and whatever. I'm sorry, you spend 10 to 12 hours a week on television, instead 10 to 12 hours on your hobby, or 10 to 12 hours on philanthropy, or 10 to 12 hours calling your friends. I'm telling you,
Yeah.
They say actually, if you have the proper instruction and you spend 10 to 12 hours a week perfecting what you do with the right instruction, that you'll be elite in 10 years. We're elite screen printers. I think that was part of it. Never watched freaking TV. Didn't have one.
Well,
And I don't know why. Figure that out. Good for your kids too. Although now they'll look at their phone maybe. But, my kids are amazing people also. And I think that's part of it. Like, you spend time doing other things.
how can the audience help get involved with Amnesty? How would you?
I always say do what you can when you can. You know what I mean? Everybody has different resources. You can't do what I do. You do what you do. You know what I mean? So you had an insight into, disabled people, and you have a business that can hire people that are quote unquote, other just abilities. And I don't know, somebody else, lives upstairs from a person downstairs that's can't shovel their walk.
Right.
Go shovel their walk,
Just put good.
You don't know
into
what
the world.
effect it would be, right? You just look around you, be creative. Don't think you can't do stuff, Don't let anybody tell you you can't. There's plenty of ways to engage, and find one that fits you, Then find another one that fits you. And if it doesn't fit you, go on and do something else, there's a lot. I meet people in the show. They're better people than me, man. I have done some bad things in my time too, There's a guy at one of the companies, his son has this like horrendous like disease, and he takes care of him in like amazing ways. Like degenerative, like, a lady who lived next door to me watched her husband until Alzheimer's till he didn't know her,
It's beautiful. So that's a great segue. I want to give you, because this show is really about putting a spotlight on the beautiful things that people are doing in this industry to give back. And, I've been so appreciative of the spotlight that you've helped put on me and my mission for disability, and appreciate you sharing the stories, both personal and business. It's you are a wonderful human being and a good soul. I'm proud to have you as my friend. Um, it really, how you've supported me over the years has been incredibly special. And, our shared vision for inclusion really kind of brought us together in the beginning. It's great to sit down here and talk to you. I want to thank our sponsor for the show, Corny Connections, which is, bringing the industry together for a higher purpose. And, with Connections 2026 coming up, the goal is to bring together industry leaders to cultivate ideas and really hopefully do exactly what you said, create more opportunities for people to be inspired, people to look at their businesses on how they can give back to the community, how they can use their businesses as a platform, how we can bring the community closer together, because there's plenty of other people out there that are willing to help sponsor your cause, your event, your mission. And my hope is that we can continue to shed a spotlight on those missions so everybody can see the incredible things that are happening within this industry, and how just one person can have a ripple effect that can be felt across the world. Thank you for joining us.
This episode of Raising the Stakes was brought to you by Cornate Connections, bringing the print industry together for a higher purpose.